everybody. So in this video, we're going to talk about week 4 and all the resources that you're going to be focusing on for this week. So similar to the past couple weeks, it's a lot of information. You're taking notes and then sort of compiling those notes by the end of the week and talking through them. So getting ready to sort of amp up for the future essays that are coming up. So you're going to write a few different smaller essays and then one final essay at the end of the semester. So we're getting all those notes together so you have everything you need once we start that process. So in this week, I go over basically what's all required for any essay, any formal academic essay you're going to write, especially for this course. So we're talking about what is scholarly writing, what is academic writing, what are those basic small requirements for it. So the first one is that it has to be written in third person. So if you had me last semester, I made comments about this quite a bit, but we're going to talk about it in more depth in here. So I give you sort of an explanation here of what third person writing is. Then when you go to this website, they're going to give you more examples, more focused explanations of first person versus third person. This means you're also avoiding second person as well. To avoid this, so when you say I, it means your opinion. When you're just stating the fact, that means you're arguing it with credible research. So in this example, I think euthanasia should be illegal. That's your opinion. But if you just say euthanasia should be illegal and then back it up with credible scholarly resources, it's not an opinion anymore. It's an argument. It's persuasive, and it's more scholarly within there. This also means that you're avoiding second person like you. So you should do this. We have to think about these things. You don't know who is reading your paper, so you can't say you have to do this, you have to do this. Instead, you're audience focused. So if I'm going to argue that state testing has to be canceled, I can't say you have to cancel state testing. Because if you as a student are reading that article, you can't do anything about it. But if my audience is the Ohio Department of Education, then when I phrase things, I'm going to say the Ohio Department of Education has to cancel state testing. So then my entire argument, my entire essay is audience focused. And that makes it much more specific. It makes it much more persuasive. It has a stronger argument to it. And if you're audience focused, you automatically avoid using I, you, any first or second person pronouns that go within there. Okay. So you're reading over this, taking notes, and then I want you to choose, you're going to do this with every sort of step through the process this week, choose one of your past writings or essays. It can be for English 1000 or any other class. So some sort of formal writing you did for a course. I want you to go through it and highlight anytime you used first or second person. So anytime that you were being in an opinionated, I think, format with it, or anytime that you were not audience focused and using you, us, we, our, anything like that. So highlight anytime you made an instance of not being in third person. So that way you're recognizing, ooh, I've got to consider this when I start writing within there. This is usually the hardest struggle bus to get out of. So I want you to recognize how much you typically do it in your writing. Once you're done with that one, then we're going to talk about contractions. So contractions, again, is one of those things that we don't think about often. We use can't instead of cannot, don't instead of do not. It's pretty common to have them in our writing. In scholarly formal writing, we don't use contractions. The reason being is that contractions are much more conversational. So when I'm giving you lecture notes, I'm probably going to use contractions because I'm trying to be more conversational. But in an essay or an academic journal, we're trying to be much more formal, and we want our audience to take us seriously. And so by not using contractions, our tone, our diction becomes much more formal within there. So we avoid contractions when we write formal essays. Okay. So again, these are just some examples. Isn't instead of it is not, it is, things like that. Now, this is not to say you still are going to use apostrophes when you're possessing something. So Looney's classroom. I still have to use the apostrophe there because I'm possessing it, but it's not a contraction. Okay. So you're just not using apostrophes for contractions. You're instead spreading the word out. Okay. So I want you to take some time, that same essay that you made notes over for first versus third person, I want you to go through and highlight every time you used a contraction. So this way, again, you're seeing, is this an area that you're going to struggle with and need to pay attention to a lot when it comes to your writing? Or are you like, I'm kind of good on this one? So we're keeping track of how we're doing on these requirements with previous writing. So the next thing you're doing is watching a video about conducting scholarly research, which has really been our focus for week 2 and week 3, but just some more reminders on what scholarly research is, what those sources are and why we want to use those instead of just basic Google when it comes to it. So this video explains what a scholarly source is, how it's different from your popular sources like Wikipedia or just finding random websites, and why those different sources are better. Excuse me. The ABCs of credible sources. These are my notes on how you can determine if a source is credible. So if a source has accurate information, has authority, has lack of bias, has no bias in it, covers the information how it should, and is current within there. So your ABCs is what you have to do. So if you go on Google Scholar and choose an academic journal, you're still on Google, so you don't know who or what published it half the time. So you have to determine if it's credible or not. If you're using the library databases, most of those are going to be sort of already peer reviewed for you to make sure that they're good and credible sources. So you don't have to stress about them as much when it comes to it. So this isn't saying you can't use Google ever again. But no matter what source you're using, where you're getting it from, it has to be credible. It can't be just a basic blog, a basic website, because I think most of these people are going to be biased from a basic website. If I'm researching cancer, okay, and I research from a hospital, that hospital is probably going to be biased because they probably have money that they're putting into specific programs or pharmaceuticals that they want their patients to use because that money benefits them. There's going to be bias. So you're going to have to look out for those biases when you're choosing websites, when you're choosing different pieces from Google that aren't peer-reviewed academic journals, okay? So once you've gone over all these notes, okay, then I want you to do the same thing, that same essay you've been working with. Go through and determine which sources that you used were not scholarly. So did you use a lot of blogs, a lot of websites, just basic Googling within there? Were they credible, were they not? So if they were not credible, highlight the sources that weren't. So you can determine, were you actually doing good research or were you just getting basic rando information first thing you found within there? So after you've done that and gotten notes on your own process with it, then the last one before the big discussion is just reminders on citing your research. That really was our main focus in week 2, APA or MLA. So then what I want you to do, if you need a reminder on the notes, go back to week 2 and week 3, primarily week 2. But then with that same essay that you've been looking over, I want you to highlight every time you made a citation error, a format error, or you just didn't include a resource or a citation or something like that. So anytime you messed up the APA or MLA formatting within there. So again, keeping track and seeing where are you struggling as a writer and where are you doing well within there when it comes to these requirements for formal academic writing, okay? So you have those 4 different sections of notes where you're assessing your own writing with those notes. Once you're done, okay, and you have all the assessments and you figured out, I really suck at this, but I'm really good at this. I figured out where I'm at with these different resources and where you have to look at with your own writing. Then you're summarizing your learning for the week, okay? So looking over all your annotations, you're answering these questions to summarize what you're taking away from this week. So what did you learn about yourself as a writer? Where are you struggling? Where are you doing well? Where do you need more assistance? What was new information from this week? What was just basic review? And overall, if you have any questions, what questions do you have left? Okay. So again, similar to last week, you're taking a lot of notes, but you should be building a notebook or a folder, digital folder, wherever it is, of all these notes that you're keeping over these past few weeks. So when we get into the essay writing, you have all of this in one place. You don't have to go back to the different modules and figure out, which module was it in? You've got your cheat sheets, you've made your notes that you can reference back to. Because again, all that we're going over, yes, it applies to this class and how I'm grading your essays, but it's going to apply to every other class and every other essay you write. So you want to be able to have these cheat sheets, these notes, to reference again and again and again when you have those other courses that you're taking and you have to write an essay for them. Okay. So as you're working through the notes for this week and working on your discussion, make sure you ask me any questions. Let me know if you have any confusions or if you need sort of extra examples with any of these pieces. So just let me know. But have a wonderful week, everybody.